Brewing coffee is partly an art as well as a science. When brewed wrongly, it can evoke diverse shades of acidity from mild to pleasant, harsh, or metallic. Most people make common mistakes when brewing coffee with coffee beans, equipment, water, and so on. Knowing your mistakes can help you to correct them, and you can start brewing great tasting coffee like a good barista. In this video, we are going to show you common brewing mistakes and how to make the perfect coffee. There are many reasons why your coffee tastes bitter or not exactly as you'd want it to taste. They are grouped into three categories, namely the coffee beans, quality of water used for brewing, and the coffee maker. The coffee beans. The importance of using quality coffee beans to a good cup of coffee cannot be overemphasized. Perhaps you already know that grinding your own coffee beans before brewing is a good practice. But occasionally, the quality of your coffee beans might be one of the other reasons your cup of coffee tastes bitter. Here are some problems associated with your coffee beans. 1. Coffee bean species. There are two major species of coffee. They are the Coffea arabica and Coffea robusta. Coffea arabica produces coffee beans that have more flavor and they are less bitter compared to robusta. However, the arabica plants usually require more care. This makes them more expensive. Coffea robusta has more quantity of caffeine and is far more bitter than Coffea arabica. In addition, Coffea robusta plants grow faster than the arabica species. It is also resistant to pests and cheaper. They are considered low quality as they lack some essential flavors. On the other hand, you must learn the distinct properties of coffee beans grown in various parts of the world. For example, the Brazilian, Kona region, Jamaican, Ethiopian, or Costa Rican coffee beans are highly recommended. Always make sure you buy good coffee beans. If you are looking for a less bitter coffee, the arabica beans are a better choice. They are not difficult to find as most coffee bean sellers deal on the arabica species. They are clearly specified on their coffee websites or on the coffee label. Also, get coffee beans rather than ground coffee with faint product labels. You may not be able to know the best coffee if you keep buying coffee in this state. 2. Stale coffee beans. The shelf life of coffee beans is not limitless regardless of how good they may look or how mildly they smell. The moment the beans leave the coffee roaster, they start to lose their flavor. The process of roasting produces a lot of carbon dioxide in the beans. Then they leak carbon dioxide via a process called degassing. The longer the coffee beans degas, the more flavor they lose. If your coffee beans were not stored properly or they have been on a grocery shelf for a long time, they may give you a bad tasting coffee after brewing. For every 24 hours your coffee beans are exposed to air at room temperature, its shelf life will diminish by about 10%. That's a whole lot of flavor lost. Even when you properly store the beans, its taste will be affected as a result of the continual oxidation of the coffee essential oils and gases released. This leaves your coffee tasting stale. It is advisable you discard all stale coffee beans even though it is not a pleasant decision. Always make sure your coffee beans are properly stored. Also, do not keep them for too long. Coffee tastes better when it is fresh, which is between 4 days and 2 weeks. So, it is good you buy the quantity you will need for about 1 week or at most 2 weeks. You must ensure you grind only the quantity you need per time prior to brewing. Always check the date it was roasted on the coffee label rather than checking for the expiration date. Note that freshly roasted beans are still undergoing a degassing process and so haven't had sufficient time to develop most of the beneficial flavors and essential oils. So, while it is not a good idea to use stale beans, it is also not advisable to use freshly roasted beans that are not up to 4 days post-roasting. 3. The quality of the roast and roasting method. The quality of the roast affects the taste of your coffee. There are two forms of roast, light roast and dark roast. Dark roast usually tastes more bitter than the light roast. It is advisable you get a light or medium light roast instead of medium dark or dark roast. The roasting process requires consistent application of heat all through the roasting duration. The stronger the coffee beans are roasted, the harsher it gets. If you are roasting your coffee beans yourself, maybe you are not doing it correctly. An environment that resembles expert roasters' equipment must be created for a perfect coffee roast. Sometimes, coffee roasters are not consistent in their roasting. So, you may have bought a badly roasted coffee beans. If your roast is bad, then find new recipes or coffee maker. You can also try other coffee brewing methods until you get one that suits you or get another batch of your preferred coffee beans. 4. The size or texture of your ground coffee. The nature of your ground coffee plays a big role in your coffee flavor. During brewing, it is essential that coffee grinds are soluble enough to extract great flavors but insoluble enough not to get overly dissolved in the filter system. There are several compounds that give rise to the flavors of coffee. Some of these compounds are extracted faster from the exterior of the ground coffee. Others have to be extracted from within the grounds. This takes a longer time. You can change the extraction of these flavor compounds by simply changing the grind size. A fine grind size slows down the movement of water through the ground coffee. This leads to too much extraction of the flavors, which causes the bitter flavors present in your coffee. In other words, using finely ground coffee extracts more flavors during a brewing process but can make your coffee more concentrated and bitter. While a coarse grind size makes a lighter or weaker coffee that tastes sweeter. The type of coffee you are brewing determines the coffee grind size you will use. For example, a French press coffee requires you to use a coarse grind size while your regular coffee requires a medium grind size. You must know the different grind sizes required for each brewing method. Also, grinding your coffee beans yourself is important. A good grinder for your home will do. 5. Over-steeping your coffee. The process of steeping refers to a coffee brewing method whereby you mix the coffee grinds directly with water. This is different from when you pass water through a filter. Examples of brewing methods that require steeping are the AeroPress and French press. You must know the point when you need to plunge and the exact time it takes to steep your coffee, otherwise your coffee oversteeps, giving you a bitter flavor. This is caused by over-extraction. It is important you get the extraction right so that you can have a sweet and well-flavored coffee drink. The steeping process is just peculiar to only a few methods. When you use the regular drip coffee maker or espresso machine, there are minimal chances of over-steeping your coffee. The quality of water used for brewing. Water used for brewing is another factor that can make your coffee taste bitter. Here are problems associated with the water used during the brewing process. 1. Using unfiltered tap water. Tap water can contain traces of chlorine or other impurities. Using unfiltered tap water to brew your coffee might not do your coffee taste good. It can change the flavor and taste of your coffee. Always make sure you filter the water you want to use to brew your coffee. And make sure your water filter runs cold to ensure proper use. 2. Water temperature. You need a perfect temperature for a good brew. The ideal temperature of water used for brewing coffee is 205 degrees Fahrenheit or 96 degrees Celsius. Using hot water to brew coffee could destroy some fine flavors and essential oils in the coffee beans. When water is too cool, your coffee might be under-extracted. This will give you a weak coffee. Use a thermometer to measure your water before you start the brewing process. Alternatively, you can boil your water and allow it to cool for about 30 seconds before you start brewing. 3. Water ratio. The ratio of water used for making your coffee also determines the taste of your coffee. Measuring more quantity of coffee into your brewing water can make it taste bitter. The ratio of water depends on the type of coffee maker you use. But your preference is what counts. If you want a concentrated coffee, add more coffee grounds to the water and vice versa. Most importantly, know the quantity of coffee grounds needed for each cup of joe. This is easier when you weigh and measure your coffee and water respectively. Some studies recommend using 55 grams of coffee for 1 liter of water. Also, make notes when you get your desired ratio so that you can use that for your future brew. It is not enough to make one perfect cup. You should be able to make it again in the future. The coffee maker. If your water and coffee beans are just right, then maybe your coffee maker is the reason your coffee tastes bitter. Here are some factors. 1. Dirty coffee maker. Coffee grounds can get accumulated within the filter area or carafe. You must clean your coffee maker immediately after brewing. An occasional deep clean is also important. Cleaning only the carafe is just not enough. Other parts of your coffee maker like the filter area, water reservoir, and so on are important too. 2. Using an old coffee maker. Most people continually use their coffee maker for so many years without realizing that just like everything, it is subject to age. Over time, after constant use, your coffee maker gets old and worn out. You need to get a new coffee maker if you've been using yours for a very long time. 3. Using the wrong coffee equipment. Most times, people look for alternative ways to make a particular coffee recipe. For example, making an espresso coffee without the machine can give you good results, but it might not give you the precision and consistency an espresso machine will produce. You may be cutting costs while what you need is that expensive coffee maker. Always use the right coffee maker for the type of coffee you want to brew. Additionally, you must pour your coffee into the right serving cup. Ceramic and glass mugs are perfect at home while the stainless steel mug is good for travels. We hope you found this video helpful. Kindly subscribe to our channel and turn on your notifications so you'll be the first to see our updates. Also, drop your comment so we'll know your thoughts. Don't forget to check the description below for more details. Visit our website, zimcoffee.com for more coffee content like this. Thanks for watching.